Hey guys! Today, let's talk about 4 characters. They once shone like stars, but in the end, all met their fate in death. Not just an exit, but a complete departure from this world. This wasn't a graceful curtain call, it was a final act, written in blood. First, Lelouch, Code Geass. Lelouch, the main character of this story, was a genius among geniuses. Much like Light Yagami, whom we mentioned earlier, incredibly intelligent and a master strategist. Whether on the battlefield or in politics, he could control the game like a grand chess master. For his sister and for revenge, he vowed to overthrow the empire and create an ideal world. To achieve that, he spared no cost, even abandoning his humanity. He succeeded in bringing down the empire and seized the throne, but then enacted a series of oppressive policies, turning himself into a hated tyrant, gathering the world's hatred onto himself. In the end, he chose death as the final solution to war, bringing peace to the world through his own sacrifice. Yes, he orchestrated his own assassination. As the crowd cheered the hero who killed Lelouch, they had no idea. The true hero had already fallen. And only then did we finally understand what it truly means to say, "All glory to Lelouch." 2. Light Yagami, Death Note. Light Yagami, the wielder of the Death Note, was a true genius, blessed with extraordinary logic and intellect, and an overwhelming sense of self-confidence. He was also a perfectionist to the extreme. Whether it was school, sports, or anything else, he wanted to be the best. He envisioned a world free of crime, and to create it, he was willing to go to any length, breaking every moral boundary along the way. From punishing criminals in the beginning, to killing innocents in order to protect his godhood. In the end, during his final battle with Nier, he made a fatal mistake, and was killed by Ryuk using the Death Note. He was both the hero and the villain, from a godlike genius to a broken, desperate figure in the final episode. As if he walked right past the version of himself from episode 1. Only then did we realize how far he had truly fallen. Just as L once said, anyone who finds the Death Note will never have a happy life. When Light looked back at his younger self in his final moments, what might he have thought? Had he never picked up the Death Note, his life could have been bright and full of promise. But even if given a second chance, he probably still would have picked it up. Because he was Light Yagami, and fate was never something he could escape. 3. Tatsumi, Akame ga Kill. Tatsumi's story, in short, everyone close to him died, including himself. When I first watched this anime, I thought it was just another hot-blooded shounen. But right after leaving his village, his 2 closest friends were brutally killed. Tatsumi eventually joined Night Raid, and I thought then they'd stick together and go on grand adventures, but then his lover, Mine, died. The cheerful big sister figure died alone in a desolate place. Lubbock, who never got to confess, was impaled. The kind-hearted Shiel was killed. Even the mentor who had high hopes for Tatsumi was poisoned, and passed on his Imperial arms in his final breath. Even Susanoo, an Imperial arms with human-like emotions, fell in a glorious final battle. And the fan favorite, Chelsea, was decapitated and her head displayed in public. Tatsumi himself died while protecting innocent civilians. Akame was cursed and poisoned, her fate sealed as well. At first, I thought this was a shounen. Midway, I thought it was a harem anime. In the end, I realized this was a despair anime. 4. Eren Yeager, Attack on Titan. Today, some call Eren a clown, his character ruined. Others see him as a mastermind, a tragic hero. I never argue either way because to me, Eren was always the boy who chased freedom. Whether his actions were right or wrong, I'm not in a place to judge, and I don't believe I have the right to do so. But everyone is free to speak their minds because Attack on Titan is, at its core, a story about freedom. At least, his final sight was Mikasa's face. Of course, there are other tragic protagonists too, like Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul and Guts from Berserk. They've been through unimaginable suffering, but at least they survived. They still have a future. But the ones we've discussed today, their stories have already ended. That's it for today's video. See you next time. Don't forget to like, save, and subscribe.